You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, do you have an idea for a podcast but don't know where to start? Or do you have an already existing podcast that you want to take to the next level? Well, check out WeKnowPodcasting.com. From concept development to theme music to editing to logos, WeKnowPodcasting.com is a one-stop shop for all things pod. Don't hesitate to hit us up. We're very nice. Midnight Oil shined a light on the plight of the Aboriginal communities in the Australian outback with their 1987 hit, Beds Are Burning. This anthemic song is widely considered one of the greatest pieces of music to ever come out of Australia, and any Australian listeners will likely be shocked that we're discussing this band on a podcast about one-hit wonders. The charts don't lie, however, and this was Midnight Oil's only top 40 Billboard hit in the US. This week, we're joined by Zao guitarist Scott Mellinger to decide if this band makes us want to dance while our earth is turning or sleep while our beds are burning.
It belongs to them. Let's give it back. How can we dance when our earth is turning? How do we sleep while our beds are burning? One hit is all you need to make the money guaranteed, and you can live off royalties forever. And it makes me wonder, is it just a wonder, or is it one hit thunder?
Scott, welcome back.
Yay, I'm so happy to be back.
You're back, and this time we're going to talk about it right off the bat. We're talking about Midnight Oil, and I got to say, I got a soft spot in my heart for a band with a bald boy. They got a bald boy in this
Yeah,
band.
they do. Yeah, I'm there with you.
Their lead singer looks so much like Michael Berryman from The Hills Have Eyes that it freaks me out.
No, he reminds me of, I thought who you were going to say is, he reminds me of that guy, maybe he's the same guy, but the guy from like the Guillermo del Toro movies, like the dude who plays like the...
Oh, like Doug Jones?
Yes, Doug Jones. He
I
reminds
could
me
see
of Doug
that.
Jones.
I don't know. I feel Michael Berryman. Michael Berryman's way more jacked than Doug Jones.
Yeah, he's an imposing figure. So
I heard one reviewer describe him as Michael Stipe on steroids, and I'm like, I could see that too, actually.
Well, let me ask you guys as non-bald boys, do you still feel the same? I don't know. When I see like a cool bald guy, I'm like, nice. Like, you know, like Stefan from The Descendants. I'm like, that guy's extra awesome. Michael Jordan, The Rock, all the cool bald boys. What do you guys think?
I think, well, so like I'm not far back behind.
No, you're not a bald boy.
It's coming. But like I 100% think it's wonderful to see like people take charge of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I honestly, the more you see people, I don't think I'd want to see those people with hair.
Yeah,
like
right.
it doesn't make sense. Like they look so good without the hair.
Well, people can make it work without hair, and people can't. So when I was a freshman in high school, I didn't want to take a language course, so I signed up for the junior ROTC, which was like the military course, which meant I had to shave my head, and that's when I found out that my head is shaped similar to Sloth from Goonies. So, like, God forbid if this luscious hair ever falls out of my head, it will be a bad look for me.
Yeah.
Hats.
That's
Yeah.
going to have to be what I lean on.
Look, I'm a proud bald boy, but I wear hats a lot for two reasons. One, especially in the summer, getting the top of your head sunburnt is the worst. It's happened a couple times and it sucks. And second, your head gets cold. That's the other part. But Peter Garrett, I noticed he's always been a bald boy. Like even back in the 70s, there was never a time where I saw this guy with hair. He's been rocking it forever. And he looks cool. He looks crazy. He looks tall. I don't know if he is, but it seems like in his videos he looks like a tall guy.
Yeah, he definitely looks massive for sure.
But we're here to talk about Beds Are Burning, and which I think is a pretty cool song. I don't know. It's one of Australia's, I was talking to Scott at Pack Practice the other day about this. It's one of Australia's most beloved songs of all time.
So I was looking this up real quick because this is even more chaotic. So the album that this song is on, Diesel and Dust, right? Rolling Stone named it the best album of 1988, stacked up against everything that came out in the United States. It was ranked as the 13th greatest album of the 80s by Rolling Stones. But even more impressive is that in October of 2010, a book was released called The 100 Best Albums from Australia, and they listed this as number 1 over AC/DC's Back in Black.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I haven't even been thinking about AC/DC.
Yeah.
I mean, Scott, you chose this song. Did you choose this song because you're a Midnight Oil fan?
Yes, actually, I own Diesel and Dust and Blue Sky Mining. It's weird too to go back and look. I didn't realize they were a working band from 78. So there's a ton of stuff that I haven't even heard. But going back and revisiting it, knowing we were going to do this, I didn't realize how many good songs are on Diesel and Dust. Like Beds Are Burning, whatever. It is the banger of the record.
Yeah.
But there are wonderful songs all over that record. There's probably 2 on the whole record that I skip. So as a fan of what they were and their whole identity and what they're kind of into, I remember loving it when I was younger, and buying those records when I was in high school. And so I guess I'm I'm a fan that's trying to revisit and kind of get a little bit more knowledge on them.
And they were part of that, their sound after listening to a bunch of their songs, because I wouldn't have pieced this together just on Beds Are Burning, but listening to the rest of their catalog, they definitely fall into that 1988 pre-grunge alternative college rock sound of an REM at that time and stuff like that, where it's it's heavy, but it's not it's definitely not the hair metal that's happening at the time, but it's also definitely not the synth pop that's happening. It's very distinct, just straight rock and roll sound with heavy political overtones in every piece of it.
Genre-less rock.
Yes.
This is rock music is what this is. And it with a message. Beds Are Burning has a really cool message. So they toured through the outback of Australia in 1986, and they saw the seriousness of the issues of health and living standards of Aboriginal communities. So this song was a critique of, I don't know, that these people's being forcibly removed from their lands. And, there's the line in the song, "It belongs to them, let's give it back." And actually the other single from this album as well, which was "The Dead Heart," was also about that same subject matter. So I think people in Australia really rallied behind them, not only for the music, but the message behind the music.
I think it's also cool that Peter Garrett, who we're talking about, Midnight Oil would fall into that exact same category of another one-hit wonder we talked about, Chumbawamba, where they were just, everything about their band was a politically driven thing. Scott and I were talking about Midnight Oil even versus Rage Against the Machine's hardcore. Peter Garrett went one step further and just started running for political offices. Wow. And in 2007, he won an election and was appointed the Minister of the Environment, Heritage, and the Arts.
For all of Australia?
For Australia. And then in 2010, became the Minister of School Education, Early Childhood, and Youth, and then retired in 2013 to go back to playing music.
Damn. Putting his money where his mouth is.
That's the real deal there.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Wow.
This song's pretty wild. One of the first things that Matt brought up about this song is you think of the very anthemic chorus, but the verses are weird.
Oh, yeah.
They're kind of almost spoken word, kind of sung weird. I guess REM is a pretty good comparison, but yeah, he's definitely got some strange vocal stylings.
It's almost like kind of comparing him to REM. It's interesting to me to see how his voice, it's almost goofy sounding in the verses. And by no means do I think anything about them is goofy, but you listen to it and you're just wow, is he purposely doing?
You mean when he says something "Ow, wow, the river broke"?
And you would think, is that? I don't even think that's his inflection.
No, I think it's a bit of an accent in his singing style.
Yeah, so but it definitely and when you listen to the whole record, a lot of the verses of the songs are his really strange cadence, and then he'll have the band kind of kick in with him chorus wise.
Yeah.
So then the choruses sound they're pretty a normal rock sound.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like we did an episode recently about Insane in the Brain from Cypress Hill. Same kind of thing where B Real's vocals, they're so weird that they're memorable.
Yes.
And you'll see that a lot in rap music, of course. Like everyone has these very distinctive voices. I think standing out makes you makes you stand out. It makes you different than maybe someone who's singing very pretty or something. You have this thing. It's like, what is that? Dude, I brought this up in a couple episodes now. You might agree that doing something outrageous or weird in your song that kind of makes people like go, what just happened there? Then later becomes catchy, and something very just outlandish can make a song a hit, I think.
Yeah. Well, I obviously the song was around when I was alive, so it wasn't like a song I had to discover, but I had forgotten about it. And I rediscovered the song at a bowling alley of all places when someone put it on the jukebox, and it's that chorus. The second I heard that chorus, it was trapped in my head for like a decade.
Right.
I do think you're right, though, Chris. What I love about it is it does that. It does that weird, odd, like out of left field kind of thing, but the chorus is so well written.
Yeah.
And I think when you can kind of have something that people are like, what the hell is that? But then you have all these choruses to back up your weirdness. Like I was telling Matt earlier that there's like the three songs at the end of Diesel and Dust. I forgot how good those songs are. And the choruses for each one of those songs are incredible. So
right. You could picture all of Australia.
yeah, when you got the
singing
goods.
together.
Yeah, when you got the goods. Yeah.
And speaking of all of Australia singing this song, I brought this up to you at practice too. Beds Are Burning. Well, I was wrong when I told you. I said it was the number 2 most beloved Australian song of all time. You know, we've talked about the Australasian Performing Rights Association before on here, the APRA, because we've had several Australian songs, but we had Katie Cole on here to talk about the Easy Beats Friday on My Mind, which is the number 1 most beloved, ranked by this APRA. Number 2 is a song called Eagle Rock by Daddy Cool, which I do not know.
Nope.
But Beds Are Burning is number 3.
Number 3.
Australia's most beloved song. Well, I was surprised it wasn't Crowded House, though. Crowded House really makes me think of Australia.
Yeah.
Or Men at Work. Although Men at Work, I feel like it could be like,
they may have gotten upset by that song.
Yeah, we get it. Land Down Under. Yeah, we get it. But
Respect where respect's due, because we will never actually do a Men at Work episode. Colin Hay is a phenomenal songwriter and singer.
Dude.
Like his solo stuff has been so fucking good that it's like made me reevaluate how good Men at Work in general was.
I mean, what's that? The jam? What's the Men at Work jam?
I Can Get to Sleep, or the Down and Under, or Who Could It Be Now?
I Can Get to Sleep. Yeah, that's a jam.
Overkill. Man, that song rules.
That is an amazing song. Yeah, but so this is very popular there. Hey, question.
Why is it?
Question. We're not doing a second. Anyway, question. Do you think that Weezer bit off the dun 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 like of the verse of this for Hash Pipe?
I don't know, because I always thought Hash Pipe was ripping off the Peter Gunn theme, if anything.
I honestly think people rip off so much and nobody will ever realize it.
Yeah.
There's like, what did I just realize the other day? Oh, this. So like, I'm a big ABBA fan.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a Muse song, which I'm not really a big fan of that band anymore, but dude, they rip off ABBA all the time.
Yeah.
And nobody would know because it's like such a separate thing. Like you're not going to listen to Muse. I mean, maybe, but yeah, there's like all these ABBA melodies in Muse songs. And I'm like, oh.
It was a couple weeks ago when we talked about how the Waitresses Christmas rapping, they openly were just like, yeah, we ripped off the bass of Good Times by Chic because it was on the radio at the time that we were recording the song.
Crazy.
This song has had a strange assembly of people who've covered it as well. I'm not sure if you dug into that. Comeback Kid did it. Amanda Palmer did it.
Oh, nice.
AWOL Nation did it with Tim from Rise Against doing the vocals on the track.
Huh.
But the strangest one I found was that on October 2nd, 2009, 60 musicians and celebrities from around the world reworked the song to highlight climate change. And I'm not going to list everybody that was on there, but it was Claus from the Scorpions, Simon from Duran Duran, Tyson from All American Rejects, Lily Allen, and then a bunch of different actors, and they called it Tick, Tick, Tick. to symbolize the ticking time we had before climate change would destroy the world.
Well, speaking of that, where are we at on that clock? You know that clock?
We're not
Are
good.
we like a minute away?
Yeah, we're real close.
Yeah, we're not doing well. Unfortunately, a bunch of celebrities singing a song didn't fix climate change.
True. That's usually...
The doomsday clock isn't too far off either now,
That's what
right?
I mean. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, there's the one that was for nuclear war, and then there's the climate change one. Now, climate change, we have 10, maybe 8 years, 7 years?
It's amazing how much we fucked up the planet in just like the past 100 years.
Well, when you have half of the population that doesn't even think that that's a possibility.
Yeah, so the deadline time left to limit global warming is 6 years, 243 days, and then 2 hours, 18 minutes, and whatever seconds.
Damn. Well,
Yeah.
that's depressing. Back to Midnight Oil.
Yeah, back to Midnight
Sorry
Oil.
to bum everybody out.
Well, it's a good thing to bring up because Midnight Oil's been kind of fighting this fight. And,
Yeah. They've been burning the midnight oil.
They have been.
on that. And so I saw some interesting things about, midnight oil is pretty freaking big, but some people believe, like Bob, the founder of Spin Magazines, believes that if Midnight Oil were from New Jersey instead of from Australia, that they'd be bigger than U2. He has been quoted as saying that they should be, one of the biggest bands on the, in Australia, they probably do have the perception of being that way. In the United States, I knew Beds Are Burning, and that's it. That's why we're doing One Hit Thunder about them.
Well, and the U2 comparison is actually really good as well because, like, in that same realm of where I said, like, they fall in that college rock sound of REM, Joshua Tree era U2 as well, they fall in that same sound of, because that's not that U2 ever stopped being a political band. Like, Bono has always kind of been vocal about that stuff. But that's when you're getting stuff like New Year's Day and Pride in the Name of Love, where they're like also really taking their music to make some stances about like injustices happening in their world. Right. And there's plenty of Midnight Oil songs where they are talking about historical injustices just as much as current day injustices. I know Arbor Day is a pretty big one from them that's like literally just about like, oh, this was that time that Australia lost millions of soldiers because the Queen of England just told us to go fight somewhere for a war we had nothing to do with. And that's when they decided to secede from Europe.
Right. Hey, there was a pretty good thing recently. If anybody has HBO Max, you can go back and watch John Oliver's thing about the monarchy.
Yeah.
Which was amazing.
Fantastic.
Takedown, of the monarchy. As far as Midnight Oil goes, man, oh man, did they influence a lot of artists. I have a big list of artists that cite Midnight Oil as a huge influence, which includes Green Day, REM, Pearl Jam, The Cranberries, Garbage, Candlebox, Hot Water Music, Shades Apart, Crowded House, and The Living End. So it's a pretty solid list.
And most of those don't surprise me.
Yeah.
No, right.
If you said like NSYNC, I'd be like, what?
And their songs have been covered by Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder Solo, U2, Patti Smith, The Killers, Imagine Dragons.
Oh, your favorite.
Yes. Silverchair, Tom Morello, Billy Bragg, and Anti-Flag.
Yeah.
One more thing that I saw was that Billy Corgan considers them one of the greatest live bands of all time, as does Kurt Loder, who said they're Australia's most formidable live act.
Jeez.
What's up, everybody? I am Finn McKenty, host of the Punk Rock NBA podcast, part of the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. My podcast is all about doing what you love for a living, and every week I sit down and talk to people who have done exactly that. For example, musicians like Tommy from Between the Buried and Me, Matt from Periphery, Lil Lotus and Shinigami, among many others, photographers, artists, designers, YouTubers like Glenn Fricker and Sarah Dici, and I unpack exactly how they got to where they are today with the goal of helping you do the same. So if that sounds cool, you can listen and subscribe at soundtalentmedia.com, and I'll see you there.
Ready for a head-bangingly good time? Dive into the world of heavy metal with the Brutally Delicious podcast. Here, we don't just talk music. We welcome you into our heavy metal family. Join us for candid chats with legends and rising stars. We go beyond the typical interviews, exploring raw emotions and the life-altering impact of heavy metal. So whether you're a diehard metalhead or just curious, join our family and let the headbanging begin with the Brutally Delicious podcast.
Hey, One Hit Thunderers. Thunderheads? Thunder Buns? All right, I'll just go with one-hit Thunder listeners. This is Chris DeMakes, guitarist and vocalist for Less Than Jake, and host of Chris DeMakes a Podcast, a songwriting podcast where every week I'm joined by an amazing guest to break down the writing, recording, and release of one iconic song that they have written. In our giant evergreen back catalog of episodes, we've had rock legends such as Dee Snider and Huey Lewis, punk rock favorites such as Mark Hoppus, Fat Mike, and Brett Gurewitz, up-and-coming artists of today such as Liz Stokes of the Beths and Genesis Owusu, and even some of the artists that have been featured on One Hit Thunder. The show is even produced by One Hit Thunder host Chris Fafalius. What more could you possibly ask for? Chris DeMakes a Podcast is available for free on all the places you listen to podcasts, and new episodes come out every Monday. I guarantee you'll like it, or we'll give you your money back.
Do you think there's a weird like United States barrier because they're from Australia?
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense because most of the bands that have gotten big that we all love are from like Britain.
Yeah.
So, but Australia has this weird, I don't know why.
Yeah, we tend to only give them one or two
Yeah,
songs.
it's like-
even Silverchair. Silverchair is like a band that their later albums are so critically adored.
Oh my God, yeah.
And not a single song from them would any person who didn't actively buy those CDs and listen to be able to name.
This is so hilarious. This is an ongoing Zayo thing. So like, I've liked Silverchair when Diorama came out. Right?
Yeah,
like,
it's a great album.
That album is unbelievable. Jeff, our drummer, hates Silverchair. So like, we did this. When we did our record with Steve Albini on our little like making of documentary, me and him are arguing about Silverchair on there, and I still stand by like the later Silverchair records are great fucking records.
Frog Stomp is what it is for a bunch of 16-year-olds
Yes.
recording an album, but pretty much Neon Ballroom and beyond, it's like, no, this is like a legit.
Oh, yeah.
Almost Neon Ballroom has like almost experimental Beatles level of like, what are they doing?
I
They are
agree.
like 19-year-olds like, let's get a big ass orchestra in here to back us for 3 songs.
Well, that's like if you Diorama lists. I think is it Diorama or is it no? What's the no?
Young
I think
Moderns?
yeah, that's the okay. So Diorama lists it that Daniel Johns didn't use anything for his voice. Like
Yeah.
there isn't a record you hear today that doesn't have some sort of auto tune or melodyne.
Yeah, he just sings it
He
clean.
straight up on the record says there is absolutely zero computer like fuckery to make him sound like he does, and he sounds spot.
I mean, they were pretty good when they were freaking 16 years old. Jesus Christ. If someone heard my recordings when I was
God,
16
yeah.
years old, that's like my worst nightmare.
Getting to play, I almost get jealous watching it of that video of them playing outside of Radio Music Hall for like the MTV Movie Awards, just like on a rooftop, 15 years old, rocking out live on MTV before the Video Music Awards. Like, could you think of anything more cool in 1995 when you're a teenager than doing that?
I mean, the people that are good from the time they're teenagers, it's like unfair. Like I've brought this up before. We did a tour in Japan with Paramore in like 2006, and they were like, the drummer was 15.
That's insane.
Haley was 17, and they were awesome. They were so good that young because they'd been playing music since they were whatever 10 or 11 years old. They had been a band. So yeah, it's. I try to tell little kid if I see a little kid who's like it should be interested in music, I'm like, you should do like focus on that. Get off the video game. Play. Man, I wish I would have started a little bit
I
earlier. You know,
know.
wouldn't that be cool?
So you want to know what other Australian band was inducted into the Australian Hall of Fame the same year as Midnight Oil?
Oh, who's that?
The Divinyls.
Wow. Didn't even realize they
I
were
didn't either.
Australian.
Yeah, I had no clue. Let's see. Yeah, Australian rock band, the Divinyls.
Wow. We've never done a one hit thunder about them.
No, they've been on the list. They've been on the list that I send people.
that
for
would
sure.
be a good one.
I also frequently forget that INXS is Australian, but yeah, INXS is in there.
Hey, you know something? This is going back a minute and off topic once again, but I kind of noticed, like, I'm sure you guys have noticed this here and there. Do you notice like a hate for Bono? Like,
There
Yeah.
really is,
Yeah.
and
is it a little unfair?
I kind of think that he can come off as pompous, but do you think it started when Trey Parker and Matt Stone kind of fucked with Bono?
I think Trey Parker and Matt Stone fucked with Bono, and that was the starting point. But then he forced everyone to have a U2 album on
That
their
sucks.
phone, and I
He-
think that was
I
the
think
real
he
breaking point.
apologized for that.
Yeah,
didn't
he apologized for that, and also like we're gonna hold that against him forever.
It's also one of the worst U2 albums.
Yes.
Like, as a fan of U2, it is a bad album.
Well, okay. My point being that, yeah, I get that Bono, could be annoying in some ways, but for the most part, doesn't he try to like?
He's like trying to save the world. Yeah, he's trying to save that doomsday clock and do stuff
he's
about
like
it.
kind of a humanitarian, like trying to.
I think it's
help
the glasses.
Yeah,
I think he's got those little shades on at all times, and people are like, "Take those fucking shades."
He gets a little bit of unfair hate. That's not that I'm like a huge Bono fan or something, but I feel like the hate's a little unfounded. It's kind of like that comedian who did the thing about Guy Fieri.
Yeah.
Where it's like, why does everybody hate this guy?
Yeah. No, and I think that the hate for Bono has made people retroactively forget that they have like 5 all-time great records that they put out. Like their run from like 87 into 95 is like almost untouchable of just like perfect record one after another. So it's like, show a little bit of respect. They were a good ass band.
Yeah. So back to Beds Are Burning.
Yes.
It peaked at number 17. That's it. On July 2nd of 1988.
Did
That's
you see
as
what
high
else
as
was
it
on
went.
the chart?
I made some notes of things that I want to bring up. So at that week where Beds Are Burning peaked at number 17, I took a look at the charts and made some notable things so you could put it in context of what was going on. At that time, it was above number 47, The Fat Boys with The Twist. At number 41, hey, maybe a future One Hit Thunder episode, Shattered Dreams by Johnny Hates Jazz.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
That's a good song. At number 26, Parents Just Don't Understand from DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Nice.
Number 21, great song, Roll With It, Steve Winwood.
Okay.
Not to be confused with Bruce Hornsby. Bruce Hornsby and Steve Winwood always get mixed up sometimes. But number 18 was Lost in You by Rod Stewart. I only put that because I don't really remember Lost in You by Rod Stewart. You guys remember that?
No.
Faintly.
I only put it because that was the one below Midnight Oil. That was number 18. Then Midnight Oil at number 17. Above it, One More Try by George Michael. I love some George Michael. Number 15, Hold On to the Nights from Richard Marx.
Yeah, wrote that one down.
Yeah, that was a good one. And now we'll get in the top 10. Above Beds Are Burning, I would be very interested to see how Midnight Oil felt about this. At number 10, Together Forever from Rick Astley.
The best Rick Astley song.
Wow, you think that's better than Never Gonna Give You Up?
I think it is a way better chorus. That Together Forever and Ever. That is a way better chorus than Never Gonna Give You Up.
I don't know. That's tough.
And don't you know I would move heaven and
earth to be together forever with you. Yeah. I mean, it's good. It is good.
It's a good song.
Number 9, I'd be really pissed if I was Midnight Oil. Nothing But a Good Time by Poison.
I had them at 8, but yes. Yeah, Poison's up in there.
Oh, yeah, you're right. And number 9 was New Sensation by NXS.
All right.
Yeah, NXS, all right.
They were like, hey, fellow Australians.
Yeah, we're really in the heart of hair metal here. At number 7 was Pour Some Sugar on Me, Def Leppard. So yeah, Midnight Oil was competing against like some cheesy ass hair metal. Number 6, Mercedes Boy by Pebbles.
Wow.
If you wanna ride my Mercedes boy, ooh. I like that song. Number 5, The Valley Road by Bruce Hornsby and the Range, which I don't remember that one.
No, and I was like, when I was looking at the list, I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to know this song. Like it was one of those ones where I looked at it for a while and was like, why do I not know
Bruce
this song?
Hornsby, it's like The Way It Is and Mandolin Rain. Those are the two songs that I know from him. And number 4, Make It Real by the Jets, which
I don't know that.
I like some Jets songs, but I don't think I know that one. Number 3, The Flame by Cheap Trick.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what song that is.
It was like their like ballady like 80s song. Like it was like
This had to be near the end of Cheap Trick's popularity, though, right?
Yeah. Like it was.
88,
Yep. It was like I remember, but it's like that weird like when those type of bands were trying to do like the. I mean, I guess Cheap Trick always had sort of like good chorus ballady songs, but this one's like a straight ballad song.
Okay, yeah, it's strange to me that I don't know something like number 2. And keep in mind, this is 1988. I'm either 7 or 8 years old, and I liked her a lot at this time. Debbie Gibson was number 2, but the song is Foolish Beat. I don't remember Foolish Beat whatsoever.
My wife would.
I mean, I can't believe I did.
You know, actually, now that I think about it, The Flame reminded me of something. So I remember when Cheap Trick did that song. It was very similar to when Alice Cooper did his like ballady song, and it was totally because of all the hair metal bands that were doing the ballads.
Yeah.
So it like that was like Cheap Trick sounding sort of like Europe Carey or something.
It's
like,
also their only number 1 hit.
Oh,
The Flame is the only Cheap Trick song to reach number 1 on the Hot 100.
wow! I want me.
No,
wasn't?
did not pull it off.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't even know it. And number one at this time, when Beds Are Burning was at its peak, Dirty Diana from Michael Jackson, which I was surprised. I don't remember Dirty Diana being that big of a hit.
Yeah, that's a weird one to even know is a Michael Jackson number one hit.
Yeah, but hey, maybe it was just there for a short time. I kind of forgot about that song completely, and then in like the past 5 or 6 years, The Weeknd did a cover of Dirty Diana, and I was like, oh, that's a pretty good cover.
The only song that you did mention that I wrote down because I just love this song was at number 14, Lita Ford's Kiss Me Deadly.
Oh, okay.
That song rules.
It's so good. What was her ballad? Close Your Eyes Forever
Close Your
with
Eyes
Ozzy.
with Ozzy.
Yeah, that song's awesome too.
All right, so Midnight Oil. It's time to make a decision. Did they bring the one-hit thunder, or are they one-hit blunder?
I mean, we'll start with Scott.
I'm 100% one hit thunder.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame listed Beds Are Burning as one of the 500 songs that shaped rock and roll as we know it.
Wow.
So, who am I to say anything but thunder for this band? And also, I told you earlier today, of all of the bands that we've had to cover for this session that we're doing at your house, this is the band that I'm most likely like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to pick up some albums by this band because I really like everything that I heard by them.
Right. And I love a band with a message, and it's one of those things where, yeah, they're a one-hit wonder, I guess, in the United States, but they're most definitely not a one-hit wonder. They're like a beloved, historic band in Australia. And to call them anything other than thunder would probably be sacrilege here. Yep. I think that's kind of crazy. I think are they still a band?
They are still playing, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I think they put out an album in 2020.
Okay. Scott, what do you got going on? You play in a band with me.
I play in a band with you, Chris.
Yes.
Yeah, we actually just played a show, so that was super fun.
We did. Can we talk about that show for a second?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we played a show, and we're still relatively, we've been a band for years, but we've only played 5 or 6 shows because a pandemic happened in the middle of our band. Our singer was pregnant a couple times. Nothing wrong with it.
No,
She played
awesome.
a show 8 months pregnant at one
incredible.
point. So I'm just saying, we've had some life and world things happen. So it still feels like we're a very new band. Mm-hmm. So we released an EP last year, very pretty record. And so we played a little show. And I got to say that when we were playing, on the stage, I felt like, oh God, we just sound loud.
Yeah.
We just sound like loudness. And I was so bummed. I'm like, man, people aren't hearing the nuances of our songs. They're just hearing loudness. And I got off, and the whole drive home, Marquitte's like, what? She's like, what's wrong? That it was fine. I'm like, I just felt like it wasn't that good or whatever. But then the next day, I saw a bunch of videos from the show, and I was like, oh, we sounded fine. It sounded good.
So here is my thing for that. And I thought about this a lot. So not only Kativo it's a basement. Mm-hmm. There's absolutely zero sound reinforcement. It's all concrete and really hard material, right?
Yeah, things are bouncing all over.
So when you're on stage at a place like that with that tiny stage, mm-hmm. and the sound guy was, so I asked my wife, Tiny Wars crushed us volume wise. So I was watching Tiny Wars. They sounded awesome, but they were so much louder than us, she told me. So I think what it is that it was just that club, all that sound bounced off everywhere. And because I could hear everything. I could tell it was loud. I know he was pushing it loud out front because we were a little bit lower on stage. So the sound out front was pushing louder. Mm-hmm. Even Josh said, he's like, when I heard my monitor mix, it sounded like I had a half stack or a full stack behind me. So I kind of credit that to the way that club is. We've all played those clubs.
Yeah, it's just something that happens. And it's happened to me lots of times where I'm like, oh God, we weren't good. We sounded bad, whatever. And then I'll see a video on someone will post a story and I'll be like, oh, we sounded good. That's fine. So that was kind of my experience of that. It's something that most people in bands experience all the time. So I'm not that bummed. I thought it went pretty well, and PAX has some other shows coming up. How about Zayo? You got anything going on with Zayo?
Yeah, so we are not... since we've done this for so long, we refuse to do winter touring. So we never do winter touring because it's just not, it's too scary and it's not worth it. So, but like we were talking earlier, like we have a ton of different things being released. So we have this past year, we've released a bunch of reissue vinyl and this like last week, we released one of those. I think it's sold out now. And then we will be releasing another older record next year. We do have some touring next year. And I'm sure just like you guys, we're kind of writing and trying to get moving on something new. But because of the pandemic and because Zao doesn't tour like a ton, we're still kind of just like playing on the Crimson Corridor record that we released in 2020. Right. So I don't think because of this weird situation we're all in, we haven't hit like the record cycle of that to me. Right. Like I feel like because we haven't played those songs to like West Coast people, Texas, anywhere out of the States because you can't even go anywhere. But so yeah, just trying to do that.
Yep. But thanks for coming on, Scott.
Oh, dude, I love. It's
Thanks
my
for
pleasure.
spending your Monday morning with us.
Absolutely, I was so happy to come down and be able to do it.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
This has been One Hit Thunder. One Hit Thunder is hosted by Chris Fafalios of the bands Punchline, Pack, and Another Cheetah, and produced by Matt Kelly of Geekscape.net. Underneath me, you're hearing Ghosty off the Punchline album Just Say Yes. Visit punchline.com for merch, tour dates, and news. We're on Patreon now. Become a patron and get bonus content, early episodes, and a chance to vote on future episodes at patreon.com/OHT Podcast. Do you want to start a podcast? Contact Chris or myself at weknowpodcasting.com for how we can make your show sound as professional as possible. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app, and tune in next week for more One Hit Thunder.
You have a million names, and one of them explains it all to me. But do you think I call you Ghosty? Mostly because you're impossible to see, yeah. The sunny's down to a spot on this block where we met in the winter wearing 2 pairs of socks. The cold was forgotten, saw your smile up and fell in love, and then out there's a doubt you're still a spider and a liar. You've taken everything. You're still a spider and a liar. You've taken everything.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.
Ready for a head-bangingly good time? Dive into the world of heavy metal with the Brutally Delicious Podcast. Here, we don't just talk music. We welcome you into our heavy metal family. Join us for candid chats with legends and rising stars. We go beyond the typical interviews, exploring raw emotions and the life-altering impact of heavy metal. So whether you're a diehard metalhead or just curious, join our family and let the headbanging begin with the Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Greetings from Evergreen Podcasts. We're rolling out a listener survey and we want to hear from you. The information in the survey will help us gather statistics and in turn make our shows more appealing to advertisers. I know most people don't like ads, but this is one of the only ways our shows make money and help keep their lights on. We promise it will only take a few minutes, but the impact on our podcasts will be tremendous. As a token of our appreciation, we'll randomly select one lucky participant each month to win an exclusive merchandise package from Evergreen Podcasts. Head to evergreenpodcast.com/listenersurvey to help a show and possibly get some free stuff for doing so. We can't thank you enough for the support. Now back to the show.